Hello there, welcome to the video and welcome back if you're a return viewer. You're watching the Christchurch Review of Books and I'm your host, Kerry. Well, it's early December, so naturally I'm going to do the November book haul. Once again, because of my personal circumstances and things beyond my control, it's a bit of a lackluster list of books and very low volume, so this video will be likewise really. And like I said, it's early December, we're in summer now, and suiting summer, it's going to be a hot and sticky day today in the high 20 degrees, 28 degrees centigrade I believe it's supposed to be. Starting to feel that now. It's about 11:45 AM on Sunday the 3rd of December, and so I'm just going to show you a few books that I picked up over the past month or so. So okay, so this one, the first one, it was a used book from RTB in Wellington. And it is Memoirs of a Geezer by Jar Wobble, and this is a book from 2009. It is a memoir basically, like the title says. Now Jar Wobble, I only know a few basic facts about him really. He was a member of a group of young people in the 70s who, some of the members of which went on to form the Sex Pistols, the famous punk band, and he stayed in the periphery of that group. When the Sex Pistols broke up, he became part of a band with John Lydon. The band was Public Image Limited. They had quite a number of successes, and then he fell out with them again and started doing his own musical career by himself, and he formed a band of himself with his, some of his friends called Invaders of the Heart. And then in the 80s sometime he had to leave music and take up what we might call menial jobs for about a decade. Then he came back with his band and he's had lots of collaborators and guest vocalists, and he's got on to some success. Like I said, I know very little about Jar Wobble. The reason that I picked this book up is because one day in the 1990s I went into a record shop back when they were selling cassettes, and on a bargain bin or something there was a cassette of an album by Jar Wobble and the Invaders of the Heart. Picked it up, didn't expect much, and I was kind of blown away by the depth of the music. There was a lot of kind of Middle Eastern reggae influences along with rock, and had a lot of guest vocalists that I liked. So name Jar Wobble stuck in my head, and when I saw this book on the RTB's website I thought I'd give it a go. Plus you can't beat a title, Memoirs of a Geezer. So that is Memoirs of a Geezer by Jar Wobble. Next up, a book that I just finished reading last week, a few days ago actually, Abroad in Japan. This book was getting a bit buzz online and it looked fascinating to me. And at the time I had no idea that the author Chris Broad was a famous YouTuber. His channel, like the title of the book, is Abroad in Japan, where he follows his life living in Japan, and he's been there for about a decade now. This book basically gives his origin story basically. He's a young man straight out of university, and talking to somebody on a plane about the idea of teaching English in Japan. He takes up the offer, and soon enough he succeeds with the job interview, and he's posted out to Japan. Lives in a rural type area in northern Japan. It's a town that's been kind of like consolidated because all the towns are losing people because of the current economic and demographic situation in Japan. Ends up working at some type of mega school, and it's basically his experiences. First half of the book is basically his experiences teaching, and the latter half of the book is basically kind of like a grab bag of the other things he's taken part in Japan since then. Like I said, I've just finished reading it, and I will have a full review coming probably within the next week. So that's Abroad in Japan by Chris Broad. I have since watched some of his videos and they're very entertaining. He's a great presenter. He has some interesting friends in Japan now. Okay, next up, this little book, The Complete Works of Leonardo da Vinci. Saw this advertised online by RTB's again in Wellington. Saw some reviews saying, oh yes, be prepared to be surprised about how small it is. Yes it is, it's a tiny little hardcover, and Complete Works of Leonardo da Vinci is a big claim to live up to, and it actually does have pretty much everything he's done, in which we know of. Some of the images are very small and tiny, and but they're well reproduced, and it's all his notebooks and all his famous paintings, including the Mona Lisa. Here we go. That's not the Mona Lisa, but you get the idea. Some more. So it has a text with a brief biographical note on Leonardo da Vinci, and basically some accompanying text with all the illustrations. So that is the complete Leonardo da Vinci. Looks like part of a series, and yeah, so very interesting. I'll use it as reference. I'll use it as something just to amuse my interest in those such things. Okay, so the big book this month is this one, Patu by Gavin Bishop. This is a second book in this format that Gavin Bishop's done. A couple of years ago he produced Atua, which was a guide to like the gods and heroes and mythology of the Maori people of New Zealand. And that was a really good book and went down very well, and I enjoyed looking through it. The illustrations were magnificent. And this time he's kind of outdone himself again. Now, Patu is a Maori word, which is a multi-purpose word. As a noun, it means a weapon, or a short club, or something to strike people with. And the other meaning of the word is violence, to hit, to injure, to assault, to be in combat. And this book is about the New Zealand Wars. Now, if you're not from New Zealand, you may not be aware that there was like large-scale conflict in various parts of New Zealand in the 19th century, from about the time of when the Crimean War was going on in Europe, and through the time of the US Civil War, and right through, there was elements of it going on still into the early 20th century, right up to about the period of World War I. Now, these are all separate. There wasn't one main war raging. There was separate conflicts in various parts of New Zealand, and some were small scale, some were really large scale. And that leads me to muse about how, when I grew up in New Zealand here, in the education system, the New Zealand Wars were called something like the Land Wars, and they're kind of dismissed as a dusty part of history. Only really dedicated historians were looking at it. And it took the Maori cultural renaissance, which started in the 1970s, to kind of bring these stories and histories out of the old books and into the public light. And it wasn't until like the 1990s that we got a kind of like a balanced review of what actually went on in those times. And the main landmark part of that, apart from a few books, was the 1998 series, the New Zealand Wars, a TV series, a 5-part series, which kind of brought out all the stuff into the light, and it kind of a balanced view how the Maori people were basically on the receiving end of a lot of bad acting by the British Empire and later the New Zealand Crown Forces. Not that they were perfectly innocent themselves, but it just showed that there was much more of a balanced thing going on, and our history was a little lacking and being taught to the New Zealand people. It's like something we wanted to sweep under the rug, basically. And yeah, so Patu, the book here by Gavin Bishop, is a really good guide to those conflicts. The illustration style is remarkable. There's lots of these little scratchy black and white images. The style he's used to depict people, it's kind of like a version of what you'd see in 19th century newspapers, but used throughout the book for human figures. And there's a lot of illustrations of pa sites and the battlefields. Pas are like the Maori encampments. Lots of stuff, and it runs through all the major conflicts and battles and personalities involved in them from the mid 19th century through to the 20th century, basically. And it is a magnificent book. I can see this being used in schools quite easily. And he credits authors such as Vincent O'Malley, which have done several books on the subject of the New Zealand Wars, and he uses all those references to bring things to life, and this is a magnificent book, and there are some fold out leaves which show battle sites and par sites and what have you. Yeah, like I said, I'm really impressed with this book, and I got it at a really good price from Mighty Ape. They had it on their their recent sale. So if you are actually interested in learning more about the New Zealand Wars, I'm sure people overseas will be surprised about what actually went on here. I'll leave some links down below. I've found some YouTube channels which have the full 1998 New Zealand Wars series that was presented by Dr. Balich. And there are also some more recent videos that were co-produced by Radio New Zealand, which bring to life a few key battles or areas of contention, and they were produced over the last few years. That's the NZ Wars. So I'll put the links down below. Yeah, I was quite enthused about this book, as you can tell. So that is me done for today. That was the full book haul for November. As you can see, I am still pretty much in limbo as to moving and new job and what have you. I am actually still in the same place. I've just changed camera angles. I thought a change is as good as a holiday, as they say. So we'll see you again next time. Next up will be the full review of Abroad in Japan. Enjoyed that book. That's a little sneak preview. Okay, we'll catch you later. Have a good day.